Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? Because it's time to put them on. Because the conversation starts now. Welcome.
I'm right there with you.
Are you with me?
I'm with you. Oh,
you
yeah.
are with me, and the brains are with me right here on the edge
Woo.
at your second home, brains. You see this right here?
Yep.
This is the place. That's right.
Yes.
The place where the conversation is pointed and the guests are sharp. There she is. And the responses are never dull. Brains, we got a female comedian. Okay, I needed some laughter. I needed some love. She's really smart and heady. She got a full-time gig, but she's carved out a niche to do what her passion is and her calling. We want to hear about her story. We want to hear about how it is to write a good joke. I sit here and I look at all these comedians, and then how they banter back and forth. And what is the life of a comedian now? Because everybody's so cotton picking serious. So let's join her to the edge. Tracy Swanson.
Hey, April.
How
nice to
are
be here.
you?
Great. I'm doing well. Thank you. It's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you. Now,
Yeah.
you are in Illinois. Where are you at? In Illinois?
Yeah. So I'm in a suburb of Chicago, just northwest of Chicago. But I was born and raised on the Chicago South Side.
Oh, boy.
So that's pretty much where like all of this writing, the creative writing and the ideas and the different, it's all drawn from, personal experiences. So I have a lot of fun with that.
Is it really as tough on the south side of Chicago as people say it is? Because people always talk up stuff. I'm from South Central LA. And yes, you can walk down the street at night and walk your dog and all that. People always embellish.
I think you're right. I definitely think there's something to that because my dad and my brother are still on the South Side and I love going home. I walk the streets. I feel perfectly safe. I think that if someone knows who you are and they're looking for you and you've done something against, a gang or something like that, you will be found out. But I just feel like if you're from there and you're just, doing your thing, I don't find that it's unsafe at all. I love it there. I mean, would I ever move back? I doubt it, but I love going to visit family.
Yeah, I live in San Diego, so I wouldn't go back to LA either. It's when I go back there, I'm like, I don't know how I did it all those years, but
Right.
it's a different vibe. It's a different place. So how
Yep.
do you show up in the world, Tracy Swanson?
Well, I show up for everyone around me. I show up for my family, my kids, my job, my hobbies, and, pretty much whatever comes up in between. I just sort of, it's a day by day. And, but I mean, I just feel like, you know, with being in this post-COVID world, there's been a lot of self-awareness, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of, trying to figure out like, where are my goals? What are my aspirations? And, instead of having a 5-year plan, I thought, you know what, why don't we just cut to the chase and make this more of a 5-day to a 5-month plan, and start getting like my goals and checking off things on my bucket list. So, and I just feel like, revving things up and amping it up has really worked, and I feel like it's brought a lot of positive energy to my life.
Yeah, well, I'm glad for you because it's brought up a lot of fear mongering for a lot of people. They were isolated, they became depressed, they became fearful, they figured that it was the end. And again, you got to laugh to keep from
Yeah.
crying. How'd you
Right.
get into comedy?
Well, how I got into comedy was when I was single and I was living on the north side of Chicago. So I went from south to north. I had some time on my hands, and I always loved sketch comedy. I always loved like Jim Carrey and In Living Color and Saturday Night Live, and all these, where people would take a character. I love Carol Burnett. I love those variety shows in the early 70s. So I
Mm-hmm.
loved a lot of those earlier things too. And so what I did was I just signed up one day at the Second City Improv, and I took some classes there. and I had the best time. And that was more of like a group setting where we would just bounce things off of each other on stage. But I always kind of knew that, like my calling was to just be up there doing stand up by myself, to just get up there and just talk about my perspective. And, I just have a lot to say, a lot of experiences to draw off of.
Are you a clean comic or do you have a potty mouth?
I'm pretty clean for the most part. I mean, I do swear a little bit here and there, but I mean, I know there's a lot of different kinds of comedy. There's sexual poetry and there's this and that and music. And I do like to implement music, but yeah, I'm pretty clean. Not
Uh,
squeaky, but pretty
no,
clean.
and that's okay. But you hear some of these women,
Mhm.
they get up there and they're so vulgar.
Oh,
They
I've
are,
seen it.
yeah, they're really, really, and I mean, these are top paying. Now, again, nobody could put a cussing on you like Richard Pryor
Right.
or Bernie Mac
Yeah.
or who is this? Cat Williams,
Right.
Dave Chappelle. You know what, Dave Chappelle? I love Dave Chappelle
Yeah.
because again, there's a story behind it. What
Sure.
is your genre? Do you talk more about your personal experiences? Do you talk about outside influences, your kids? Where does your comedy draw from?
Yeah, my comedy draws from personal experiences. Definitely. Just the things that I've seen in my life, the fun things that I've done, the observations that, have just come and gone and, things that I've remembered and even things like in my daily life, you know, um, just random things will just anything that I can embellish and like say, "Oh, okay, for example, I did something, I did a sketch. The very first one I did up on stage was just based on the South Side Irish Parade. And,
Mm,
and just the funny things that happen there. The kids are drunk, but they're 14 years old, and
right,
so
right, right,
we,
right, right.
CPD needs extra paddy wagons because these kids, and they're harmless, but, we've been there. I grew up in that setting. So it's pretty funny to me now to look back and go, oh, not much has changed.
Right.
So
But I look at again Dave Chappelle. Somebody jumps up on the stage and attacks them.
I
You used to
know.
be able to talk about people that had a disability. You used to be
Right.
able to talk about the fat. You able to talk about any minority. And
Yes.
that stuff be funny. It's
Hmm.
funny, but now everybody is so phobic.
Right. They are.
And I don't get it. This is you paid money to be entertained, to be
Hmm.
laughed, to laugh.
Hmm.
You knew a little bit about the comedian before you walked in the door. I never would sit in the front row though.
No, you don't want to get roasted.
You don't want to get roasted, but I was just
Right.
looking on television, the Def Comedy Jam, how
Yeah.
Russell Wilson just turned it out, got the Kings of Comedy, and there was a lot of money in that at that point.
Hmm.
But the life of a comedian is tough because I was looking at some of the people and how they aged. I saw a young Steve Harvey. I saw a young Bernie Mac. It takes a lot to get up there and kill it with an audience. How do you write a good joke and a punchline? What are the key elements, maybe I should say, in a good joke?
Well, I think the key elements are you never really know. You have to go in with the mindset that, it's what you find funny. And you have to go in thinking like you're hoping that you can get at least 70% of the audience laughing. That's usually what the goal is. But you never really know like the demographic of the audience. You don't know like what the age range is going to be of the people in the audience and what the people find funny. So basically, as long as you can just sort of hit on your tags and hit on your punchlines and make sure that they're pretty close together. You just basically have to hope for the best. And
So, who do you try? Who's your guinea pigs? Who do you try your jokes out on?
oh, my friends and my family, pretty
Yeah.
much. Like if I'm out with girlfriends or if I'm, just sitting around the house, I'll say, hey, what do you think of this? And
Yeah.
sometimes, I have an older son who's 20. So he finds a lot of it funny, but my teenager is still a little bit in that awkward phase. So really
Mhm.
nothing I say is funny.
Right.
So,
Everything you
you
say is
know,
annoying. Oh, mom,
yes,
really?
exactly.
Are
Right.
you
Like I'm going to
serious?
embarrass him. But at least my 20-year-old, he has that comic, where he could be like, yeah, that's actually pretty good.
And
So,
a lot of serious subjects are touched when it
right.
comes to comedy,
Yes.
politics, sexuality,
Mhm.
women's rights.
Right.
narcissistic, alcoholics. So people have to understand that a lot of comics, and I don't know if this is true for you, have really lived a rough life. They've had some
Sure.
tough experiences, and again, they laugh to keep from crying. Who are some of your in modern day influences? I know you mentioned some of the sitcoms. Nobody was greater than Lucy. Now, I love Carol Burnett,
Oh, sure.
but Lucy was the best.
Right. She was the best. But what happened to me personally was when I was younger and I would watch the Carol Burnett show,
Mm-hmm.
and she would do like those skits like Gone with the Wind. And she would play
Mm,
Scarlet and she would, and he would say, "You look so gorgeous in that gown." And she would say, "Oh, well, I found it in the window." And, yeah. And so there were so many things that I just thought of her to just go out there and to just do her thing and what she does best. And just to take something ordinary and make it extraordinary, I just thought was phenomenal. And then when I was in sixth grade, I had the opportunity to play her when Carol Burnett was Miss Hannigan in the movie Annie.
oh,
Annie.
wow.
I was
Yeah.
able to play Miss Hannigan in our school play, and I was so nervous, because she was my idol, and I didn't want to get up there and mess up. And I knew that
Oh,
it was going to be showtime and curtains, and I had to sing the song Little Girls, and I had to sing it, never ever knowing what a drop of alcohol tasted like. I know my
wow.
Southsiders are watching this going, "Come on,
Oh,
Trey."
wow. Come
But
on,
no,
Trey.
it was before that time, but I nailed it, and I got a standing ovation.
Wow.
And I was in sixth grade, and I just knew from that moment on, like there was something to that for me, something to that feeling where you're so nervous and you don't want to disappoint anyone and your palms are sweating. You don't want to let anybody down. So it's more about everybody else than it is about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's about like, are you going to be able to sell this?
Right.
Like it's sort of like in comedy, like you write what you think is funny and you hope for the best, but you don't know what you're going to throw against the wall and what's going to stick.
Absolutely. And
But you
I
don't know
really
if you're going to
admire
be able to
people.
beat Carol Burnett and make
Yeah.
it work,
Because
you know.
I'm a poet.
Mhm.
And, to get up there, and then sometimes you might forget what you're going to say, but nobody knows what you're going to say until you say it. And
Sure.
something might spark in your mind, and you have this whole dialogue, whole program, and then you
Right.
change it in the middle. Would you like to do something like an SNL? Would that?
I would love it because two of my very favorite, like when I was younger and I would like emulate, I remember in October of 75 when SNL premiered, and I remember staying up late. I had just started kindergarten, and I was like, "Oh my God, I just loved Gilda Radner." And and all of her sketch comedy, and Jane Curtin at the news desk, and flashing herself, and all the funny things. And I loved John Belushi, and so there were just so much to that I would just like try to emulate those characters to make my siblings laugh.
Mm,
And I mean, you may have heard that before, like with other comedians, where it was like, there wasn't a whole lot to do, but you would find something like that just sort of like calls to you, and it's like, "Oh, I can do that." And it's
right.
just, you just make people around you laugh.
Well,
So I had a lot of
I don't know
fun.
if you had an opportunity to read Will Smith's book, Will, but it's powerful. And how he grew up always feeling that he was a coward,
Mhm.
and his father was very violent, and he drank a lot. But in order to keep the peace, Will was the funny guy.
Mhm.
He'd always make people laugh, he'd always be in front of the camera. And so he turned his pain into his payday. But you had a very challenging upbringing. You had a brain tumor as a
Yes,
child.
I did, right. So basically what happened was so I was in second grade, and I just basically I fainted, like it just sort of I had a blackout, and nobody really knew what that was from. And then so when they did the scan and everything, and they found it, it was one of those things where it was the end of my second grade year in 1978. And yeah, I had to spend the entire summer in the hospital that year, and it was no fun. But I mean, the silver lining in that was it was not cancer. They did do surgery to remove it like at the end of June or something like that, but I ended up coming home like in August, right around my 8th birthday. So basically what happened for me was I was going to go home with no hair, so that created a lot of anxiety. And like, how am I going to go back to school with this shaved head? girls are going to be hitting on me, and they did.
Mm.
And, so it was just a lot of like, just nervousness, and self-conscious, being real self-conscious. And, I felt like I had no self-esteem and everything. So I think that prior to that, with already having like sort of that creative ability, that sort of called to me, like my mom and dad would say, once your hair comes back, you're going to be beautiful and everything, you're beautiful now, but you're going to feel more like yourself, and it'll happen in no time. So don't feel like this is the end of the world. Like this is just the beginning. Like this is just going to be a little bump in the road, and you'll be fine. But
Mm.
it set me back about a year,
Okay.
just like mentally, and like trying to get my head around everything that just happened. But one of the things that one of my silver linings and all that was that summer I just didn't know what to do. When I came home, I felt a little lost. And my dad said, well, there's this great movie that just came out a couple months ago called Grease, and I really think you would love it. I really think that with the singing and dancing and all the things that you do, you'll really love to see this. And I did. And, I think he probably took me to the theater about, over 30 times, just because it
Oh,
was the thing
wow.
that I wanted to see over and over again. Like it was just like, oh, I want to do theater.
And so
I
what
want to
we
get
want
up
to
there
do
and
is
sing.
we want to send a shout out to Olivia Newton-John because she was a soldier. She
Yes,
fought 3 decades.
I
A lot of
know.
people don't do that. In and out,
Right.
back and forth. And finally, the body expired. She was tired.
Yeah,
And John
exactly.
Travolta was her cheerleader.
Yeah,
And
I sure was.
he went through that with his wife as well. So,
Hmm.
to have someone to be by your side to support you through this and encourage you,
Right.
because we all are organic and we all
Hmm.
have an expiration date.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Right.
what we want to do is we want to try to live our best life.
Right.
We want to live our dreams. And I'm so glad that you not only have stepped outside of the box, but you're creating
Thank
your
you.
own box. That's
Thank you.
huge. Because some people never live their dreams. You got to feel your fear and do it anyway. You
Right.
said Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi were also SNL. Yeah, they were crazy.
Yeah, they were
They
crazy,
were
but
different kind of. They were different kind of comics. They weren't the stand-up kind of. They were the physical comedy, like
yes,
Jerry Lewis. Oh, that was my dude.
yes, exactly. They were a lot like that for me. You would have like John, doing like his Killer Bees sketch or his cheeseburger, and those were just the fun things. They made light of everything. And then you'd have Dan Aykroyd, when they weren't doing their Blues Brothers sketches, he'd be doing like, the Bat Mixer 77, and
Mhm.
it can grind up the lungs of a fly. He'd just
Oh
do like
God.
funny, just different things like that. And I love the women, and I love that a lot of these comics were from Chicago. I didn't have an appreciation for that then because I didn't know all the background of all of that. But a funny thing happened too, because one of the first, like, even though it wasn't technically an SNL movie, was the Blues Brothers.
Oh yeah.
And
That was
like that
huge.
was the first kind of one that I saw. I was in about fourth grade. And so I loved that. I thought that was cool because that was filmed not that far from where I grew up.
Oh, okay.
And so I had this crazy experience in high school where, even though that was like 9 years after the Blues Brothers came out, we were at a high school party in that neighborhood by that bridge,
Oh wow.
that 95th Street bridge that they
Hmm.
jumped. And somebody said to me, they said, "You're the only one sober here." And they threw me the keys, and it was to my girlfriend's conversion van.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah, gosh. I know you're gonna say it, girl, don't tell me you did. And so we were coming up to the bridge, and I was the first car, the first van, and those gates went down, and I went around the gates, and I just hit the gas and went over that bridge
Wow.
just to be like them. And I mean, honestly, April, I made it within a tenth of an inch.
Hmm.
And I had no feeling in my legs. Like I realized when we were coming down that was already coming away. And I was like, I'm gonna kill I mean, and it was just stupid. It was just a stupid thing to do for two guys that,
But it's
I'll never meet
yeah,
in
but
my
it's
life.
classic now.
But
I mean, you look
yeah,
back on it, you go, "Wow, I
right.
was a risk taker."
Exactly.
But you
Exactly.
want to
So
be,
that was pretty impulsive, if that
yeah.
tells you anything about me.
So let's ask you some fun questions.
Yeah.
If you were an appliance,
Hmm.
in the kitchen,
Hmm.
what would you be, Tracy?
Well, let's see. I would probably be a refrigerator, I would say,
Yeah.
because, I can be like icy, you know, in some extremes, on the freezer side. And then I could be like, oh, here's all the pretty fruits and vegetables and all the colorful things. So
Oh wow.
there's a little bit of both in that with me.
Yeah, I think I'd be probably the teapot.
Yeah. Oh, would you?
Yeah, I'm hot and
Okay.
steamy, like the spout
Yeah.
off.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I like that. If
Yeah.
you had
So,
three wishes, what would they be?
well, they would be, I think there was a lot going on in the world in the last, number of years. I would just like more, with the insecurity of the pandemic, I would just like more like health assurance, for our families. Like my mom is a COVID survivor, but she's a long hauler and
Oh,
she's had a lot of suffering,
wow.
from that. Like she's living with symptoms and she's COVID negative. It would just be nice to live in a world where, you didn't have older family members, that come down with these and they have a suppressed immune system. You just wish that there was more for them, in terms of healthcare. And, I also wish, like, I just felt like, during, after 2016, like our country was just so politically divided,
Oh my
and
God. 2016, they're still politically
well, I
divided.
know,
Yeah,
but
it's
I
crazy.
mean, we finally have a little bit of relief from that. But,
Right.
during that time, it really brought to fruition, like people couldn't talk to each other,
Yeah,
it was just so.
it separated the wheat from the straw, that's for sure.
It did, so it puts a whole new spin on like, oh, I really want world peace. But in a way, that's what comedy does for me. It's like, you got to check your insecurities at the door and you got to go in there and you got to think like it's all on, I mean, nothing's off the table with comics. Like if I want to go up there right now and make fun of Trump, or if I wanted to do that then, I mean, it's just a way to make light of, what's
People
happening in
don't
the
see
world.
that.
And
They internalize it, they
right.
process it, they incubate it,
Yes.
and then they try
Hmm.
to justify it.
Yeah.
There's no, and that's with a lot of things.
Sure.
It's not
Yeah.
just I call it
No.
politics, girl. I don't even call it politics. It's
Right.
politics. Uh,
Sure.
so that's wrong. Okay, and then what would your third thing be?
Well, my third thing would just be, I mean, I just want like happiness in general. I love to be creative and make people happy, but I just feel like, if I'm sending my message across and people are happy and I'm doing what I'm doing best, I feel like, that I'm making my world around me a better place. And I just want people to be able to just sort of feel that energy
Mhm.
and that creativity and you know, just in general happiness for
Well,
all,
I'm glad that all yours is
and peace.
sensible, because mine's a whimsical. I want a world full of gelato,
Hmm.
all different flavors.
Right?
I want to be able to keep up my stamina to the day I die for some good sex,
Sure.
and I also I want to laugh.
Yeah,
I want to
exactly.
laugh.
And that goes along with happiness for me. If I'm up there and I do happen to get 70% of the audience laughing, then I'm happy. So
That's
then I've
right.
done my thing. I feel like I've blown their minds. So,
Wow.
we
If
can
you
only
were
do
an
so much.
animal, what animal would you be and why?
Oh, I'm sure I would be a puppy. Because I mean, not a dog, but a puppy, because
A
I just feel
puppy.
like I have that soft side to me.
Mm,
And I think that that's kind of where I draw from, with, oh, I'm not worried about myself. I'm just worried about, are others around me happy? Like, am I making other people happy? And I feel like that's what puppies do for me.
they
So,
do. They do.
yeah,
There's nothing like, I was telling my husband today, I said, there's nothing like a puppy kiss. And then when
right.
they nestle themselves up under your neck, oh my
Yeah,
God, the world just turns inside out.
exactly. So if I have my puppy at the end of a hard day, I'm happy.
No.
So,
What are three things that you can't live without, Tracy Swanson?
well, let's see. I can't live without laughter. I can't live without happiness and, what goes along with happiness, like, trustworthiness and all of those things combined. And I also can't live without like, you know, being able to be creative, like the creativity. in life.
Right.
Just being able to constantly be inventive. And, those are three things that I have to have where I feel like, if I can compartmentalize those things, I just feel like that's what makes me feel complete. So because then, I'm drawing on things and
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
just experiences.
Uh, what would you tell a 25-year-old Tracy Swanson?
Ooh, I would say, girl, don't jump that bridge. I mean,
Right.
I would say, try to take it back a notch because I know that, where I'm at today is because of young Tracy. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like that's where all of these kind of ideas all stemmed from, all of my dreams, the way that I was, the way that I am, it all carried forward. So I just feel like without her, I wouldn't be who I am now. So I don't know if I would say too much, but I would just say, buckle up. It's going to be a fun ride. Keep doing what you're doing and stay focused and, keep your eye on the prize. Be empathetic, be humble, reflect. Because if you're not happy, you can't make anyone else happy. That's pretty much the key to it. Those are pretty much the things I would say. And, not to let life get to be, you know, beat you down, which is why I feel like with comedy, it's all about trying to keep the glass half full and not half empty. And I just feel like, if I have that, or, if 25-year-old Tracy has that, then 52-year-old Tracy will definitely be the best that she can be and the best that she's ever been.
How old were you when you stepped out onto the comedy stage?
I was, let's see, 11.
Oh, wow. So you've been
Yeah.
doing this a long time.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you've entered talent shows and,
Yeah.
different events.
Yeah. All those things. Right.
And you know what? Before I forget to tell you this too, I want you to
Mhm.
reach out to Carol Burnett before it's too late. I
Okay.
heard that she's very responsive. You might get an
Okay.
autograph photograph. So a friend of mine was a friend of hers. My friend passed away, or I'd hook you up.
Oh,
But
oh,
but
okay.
yeah, but send it out. They said that she's very responsive to her fans because she was one of a kind. So
Okay.
what do you want your legacy to be, Tracy Swanson?
I want my legacy to be where, one of the things that my son did when he was in elementary school was he wrote a paper on how I made my mark. And I just feel like, in terms of answering this, I would say the same thing. Like I made my mark by trying to step out of the box, not letting fear hold me back, trying to keep my goals at the forefront of my mind. Um, making others happy, making my, kids secure, husband, the whole nine yards. Just wanting that, keep working on my dreams, basically, never feeling like it's too late. Feeling like make a goal, set your goal, reach your goal. I want to be known for that. That's what I want my legacy to be.
Well, you are definitely a risk taker.
Thank
Uh,
you.
I'd love to see you on stage when you come to. I told you come to San Diego, or
Hmm.
I'll
Thank you.
even come up to see you up in LA. So, what's
Okay.
on the horizon for you? Are you auditioning now? Are you writing new material? Are you submitting yourself to sitcoms, SNL? Where are you at in your career?
Right now I'm trying to find an agent. So if there's an agent out there that's, looking for a funny lady, here I am.
Okay.
So I'm basically doing that, and I'm doing a lot of open mics, the Laugh Factory and different places, and just getting my work, everything that I write out there, and just testing out the material, just to say, okay, does this work? Does this not work? And just getting a feel for what what it is. Besides, it's funny to me, but is it funny to them? And
Have you?
that's not always going to be the case.
You know what would be great too? I don't
Mhm.
know. Do you have your own podcast?
No, not yet.
I'm telling you, and
Really?
feature underdiscovered talent.
Okay.
That again, that's what Russell Simmons did.
Did he?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Def Comedy Jam. He created
Wow.
that. So,
Okay.
you get people on there, you give them, do a set,
Hmm.
funny, people re-listen to it, and then
Right.
make it a subscriber service, make some money. I'll talk to you about that offline.
Okay, that
I'm
sounds
a
great.
I'm a queen
Thank
of
you.
marketing.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
I really admire you, like I said, that you are a woman of a particular age and that you are still very robust. You're beautiful. I love your
Thank you.
cheeks.
Thank you.
You know, you're vivacious and you want to make people laugh. You want to make people happy. Brains, happiness is an inside job.
Mhm.
Okay? Happiness is like cocaine. Oh, yes.
Right.
People are always chasing the high.
Right.
What's the next thing that's going to set me off? What's the next thing that's going to take me to that next plateau? Laugh yoga. I didn't think
Yeah.
I thought that was a crock. I
Right.
did it, girl. I was exhausted.
Uh,
My abdomen was
right.
quivering afterwards. It was a lot of fun, and you can just make yourself laugh when there's really nothing funny, and you laugh
Yeah.
long enough, everything becomes funny. So
Sure.
you are a funny lady. Please tell my
Thank
brains
you.
how to get in contact with you. Do you have some of your work or some of your performances on YouTube?
I'm about to upload a video now. I'm on a new computer and I was going to put a couple of my reels, up on YouTube. So when they are there, maybe I can do I just post to your page or
Yeah,
just to my own
yeah. Just go
Facebook?
ahead. Yeah, just go ahead and let me know, and I'm gonna
Okay.
share them because I can't wait to see them.
Okay, great. Thank you,
And like I
April.
said, I want you to manifest your dreams. I want you to already see yourself on that stage,
Yeah,
an audience full of people
right.
wiping their eyes because they're belly aching over
Yeah,
your comedy. And then you walk off that stage and grab that monster check. I
yeah.
already see it. Okay.
Oh, great. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank
Thank you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Brains,
Okay.
laugh your way all the way to the edge.
Yeah. Oh, wait, where's my paper? Oh, I've got my mug.
She got her mug. Look at that. She's drinking. That's a
There it
happiness
is.
cup too.
Yeah.
May your cup runneth over. Brains, I need you to go
Okay.
in and subscribe to my channel. I need you to like it, love it, share it. One more time. Like it, love it, share it, and subscribe it. Because this is where it's happening. This is the best podcast on the planet. Well, next to the one that we're going to start for Tracy. All
Yeah.
right?
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
April.
All right. Bye, Brains.
Okay. Bye. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Give it up for Tracy Swanson.
The book clubbers are with me.
Oh, that's so good.
I really want this to be like an Animal House situation right now where I gave my love a cherry. Kind of thinking bust this thing up. There's 3 missing strings, so I'll just put this over here. So hey guys, oh, it's so cool to be here. Thank you. This is so surreal. So I'm from Chicago South Side. Woo! Yeah, born and raised, living in Palatine right now. But I have to clarify, I'm from the toxic side of the South Side. So if something doesn't resonate, I'll get the birth defect check later. That's all I can say. But if you ever really wanted to check out the South Side, next Sunday is the day to do it because that's the day of the South Side Irish Parade.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Yay!
Good times. That's a wild time. Oh yeah. So basically, you've got 2 groups at the Southside Irish Parade. You've got your innocent bystanders and families crowd. That's anything 14 and younger. And then you've got your reckless drunks, and that's 14 and over. So, I remember those days. I mean, come on. Like, we were all doing it. Paddy wagons are lined up, red Solo cups. I mean, the whole thing. So basically, you've got that going on, and then inside the bar, you've got ladies like me reuniting with all the Southside ladies, the Sheehan's, the Shannons, and all the goodies. And we're like, we're getting bombed on Jameson shots. We don't even know what holiday it is. We've got the bartender warning us. He's saying, "Hey, bitches, put those things back. This is not Mardi Gras. We are not throwing out beads here tonight." But you don't want to piss off a Southside woman. I mean, come on, that's when our moms come out, right? The real Latin kings. They were like the 70s, the rollers, the wire rollers in the hair, the whole bit. That's why the Southside changed. I I mean, those mothers left and that was that. But the thing about it is, when that bartender tells us that, and that inner south side comes out, look the fuck out. Because here's what's going on. We're going to go back at him and say, hey, that attitude is about as contagious as the clap. So the face, motherfucker, and line up those shots.
Woo!
Book club, you get it?
Yes! Yes!
Gotta do it. And so the beauty about being back on the south side is like, oh my God, so many memories. So I remember like cruising down 95th Street, getting my license, 1986. Damn. Like we didn't need GPS because we had White Castles. You know, like every quarter mile was a White Castle. So when my friends call me up right now and I'm coming out there and they say, hey, we moved. Go to that White Castle on 127th and Betsy and take a right. Go down 3 blocks. You'll see my car in that driveway on the left. It's like, oh yeah, I know, we didn't need addresses, street names. Oh no, still don't. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And it's kind of cool too because my dad still lives out there, so I can go out and see him. And what was nice was that when we moved to Palatine, well, I'm a transplant, so my husband's from here. My dad was such a good sport. He would say, hey, I'll be your sidekick, I'll cruise around with you, we'll get the lay of the land. So one day we're doing that, we're cruising down Quinton, and I didn't know what that meant either. But my dad, he has a history, he sold cars. So he got really excited one day, we're driving, and he looks over and he's like, oh wow, look at that luxury car dealership, we gotta check that out. I'm like, Dad, that's a high school.
Oh.
This is not a Dick James Ford situation. This is not South College. I'm sorry. This is not Evergreen Park. We're not talking about Chevys and Fords. So, yeah. But then I gotta get my dad back because, we've got this work from home situation going on for during the week. I'm sure you guys too. But, the work from home thing, versus work from the office, it's so different. It's like trust versus no trust. Love versus hate. And a good example of that is that, so what happened was, they love us all of a sudden, but they hated us then. So literally I could say, I'm on my 3rd Mai Tai on the beach in the Bahamas, and all I need is that notification on my phone, to say, hey, reminder, Zoom call at 3. Don't pass out.
Yeah.
Spit that sand out, bitch. And I can do that. It would be all good. Now, versus being in the office where there was no trust, and I would call in literally and be like, hey, I just got carjacked at 63rd and the Dan Ryan. But they would need a note from the cop. I would be like, what the fuck? This is going to be held up. I would say, cops, come on. You got to flash something. Anyway, but now, with the whole trust thing, we're getting all these employee surveys coming in. So it's like, oh, they want to know what we think, what we can do. What can we do to make it better? So one of the questions that always comes in is, hey, what can we do to make your work-life balance more successful? Send wine, motherfuckers. Send anything with a W. Wine, weed, watermelon, Wagyu. What's Wagyu? Is that Japanese beef, something like that? I actually thought that was a Japanese breed of dog telling me to go fuck myself. I really did, for the longest time. Fancy word on the menu. It knows it's going to the meat grinder. All right, am I up? Oh yeah, I'm up.